following is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee.
Sounds like 30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick and Michael Sindrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. Where we are, it's a beautiful Thursday afternoon in Nashville, Tennessee. Depending on where you may be, who knows what you're getting. The good news this time of year, give it 15 minutes, and it's likely to change. We have a good show for you today, wrapped around a lot of Titans talk. As you know, they open the preseason tonight in Baltimore at 6:30. The game will be on Channel 2, which is WKRN in the Nashville area. Let's call roll. Let's start up on the plateau and say hello to Coach Watson Brown. Watson, how are you?
George, I'm here and accounted for.
I love it. What's it like up there?
It's beautiful. Yeah, we got enough yesterday to last a while, though. So I'm telling you, that was a rough afternoon.
Oh, yeah. We've definitely gotten more than our quota in the last 7 days.
Yep.
Let's do this. Let's say hello to Billy Derrick, Father Ryan grad, proud alum. You have things to say and read, don't you?
Yes, I do. I love how you intro that every day, George. Very smooth. But we do have Terry McCormick getting ready to get in here to preview the Titans game tonight, preseason game number 1. His first sponsor, the Justin Tucker team with Platinum Realty Partners. They are proven to be trusted with your most personal asset. The Justin Tucker team, call them at 615-906-8458. Also, Sumner Funeral and Cremation. The 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by those great folks. They are sharing their family with yours in your time of need. Now with 2 convenient locations in Gallatin and Hendersonville, and online at sumnerfuneral.com. Sumner Funeral and Cremation, traditional, affordable, and dignified.
Terry will not be with us tomorrow or Monday because he and the child are getting on an airplane and headed to Fenway Park. Terry, I know you're excited.
I am excited, George. Should be a good time.
Oh, listen, you'll have a blast. And like I've told you, you get there early. You get there way before they open the gates. And then sort of just, take in the sights because Fenway is there's nothing better.
I plan to do that. Plan to do exactly that. Just kind of soak it all in.
So let's get to tonight. You may or may not have more knowledge than you did a few days ago on this. What do you expect the rotation to be as far as how long does Logan Woodside play and how long does Malik Willis play?
I think they'll split it about 50-50, George. I mean, Woodside might get a series or 2 in the third quarter, but my guess is it's probably going to be about a 50-50 split. Don't think you're going to see Ryan Tannehill. Don't think you're going to see very many of the Titans veterans. I wouldn't look for Jeffrey Simmons or Kevin Byard or Robert Woods, and certainly not Derrick Henry, who Mike Vrabel announced a couple of weeks ago wouldn't be playing in the preseason.
Terry, what do you think has changed now that we've gone to 3 games instead of 4?
Well, I think it changes the number of times that you have to evaluate guys because you use these preseason games to get a look at some of these guys who may make up last 4 or 5 spots on your 53-man roster. And so that gives you one less chance to evaluate them. What they've done, and I kind of like it this way, is that they have gone to these joint practices, which there'll be a couple with Tampa Bay next week and then a couple more with Arizona prior to that preseason game, which will be played on August 27th. So they've done more of that type of thing to get more of a controlled environment, more of an evaluation of the players that they want to take a look at that are on the bubble for these roster spots. one note, George, regarding the practices with Tampa Bay. News came out of Tampa today that Brady was taking a leave of absence to tend to some personal matters from Bucks camp, and so he will not accompany the team to Nashville next week, but is supposed to return to them after that.
So you don't think he plays? A lot of people were kind of excited about, I mean, who knows? This is probably the last time we ever see him in person, and you're saying that's not going to happen.
Not going to happen, according to what's coming out of Tampa, that he has taken the week away to tend to personal matters, I think it was described. So probably some type of family situation that he's involved in, and he will not be accompanying the team to Nashville when they face the Titans in those joint practices and the preseason game. So we're going to get a lot of Blaine Gabbert and Ryan Griffin and Kyle Trask to evaluate the Titans against.
I am thrilled. I'm riveted by that possibility.
I know you are.
Listen, you have a good trip. I want to hear about it when you get back.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Make the child behave.
I will try.
Okay. We got an update with a lot of stuff in it today, Watson. So get ready. Some interesting things. Let's start wherever we're starting. Item number one.
Item number one, George, we start in the NBA, and we talked about this. I think it was last week. Magic Johnson's request to retire number 6 throughout the NBA. About a week later, Silver follows through with it. So I'm sure there's a lot of people happy about that. But a big reason why it matters, George, this is the first time that the NBA has retired a player's number across the entire league. So that's a pretty special honor for Bill Russell.
Yeah, what they've done, Watson, is essentially what baseball did with Jackie Robinson. And, the next cool thing they ought to do is just steal it from baseball, have a game where everybody wears the number 6.
I would bet you it happens.
I think you're right.
That's what's going to go down. But well-deserved, George. If you're going to pick one guy, just one guy, they got the right man.
Amen. What's item number 2?
I always leave my mic muted, George. Item number 2, Jeff Darlington. According to Jeff Darlington, had Drew Brees retired in 2020, Tom Brady would have gone to New Orleans. That's kind of the latest NFL news. The Brady-Peyton pair is not a coincidence. So Drew Brees could have, or Tom Brady could have been a Saint.
Boy, can you imagine, Watson, Sean Payton, Tom Brady?
Yeah, I wish we'd seen it. That would have been neat. This tells me, George, the Dolphin thing was for real.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely for real. And I wonder how long it's going to go with Sean and Tom that they don't get drug into this in some way.
Yeah.
Just how much were you talking behind the scenes?
Oh, yeah.
I'm waiting to see how far it goes, because I think if it hadn't gotten out, it would have happened, and he never would have gone to the Bucks. I think he was headed to the Dolphins all the way.
Film at 11. What are we on now? Number 3?
Number 3, George, we stay in the NFL. The Cleveland Browns are considering trading for Jimmy G.
Imagine that.
The suspension, of course, they're waiting on Watson's suspension. If it gets increased from his current punishment of 6 games, they will consider it. Of course, it's under appeal right now, and the NFL is hoping that it gets increased to at least 1 year. So Cleveland kind of waiting right now, waiting and see mode for Jimmy G.
So, Watson, they have announced that they're going to start Deshaun Watson in this preseason game tomorrow night in Jacksonville. Would you have done the same thing?
No. I wouldn't have. I think I would have held him just to find out what the outcome is. 12 or more games, he didn't need to play. That's too far down to where he's going to be a factor in the season. I would like to think it would come out here in the next 2 weeks at the most, but I don't think I would have played him.
So it looks to me like what Cleveland is waiting on is to see if they can essentially steal Jimmy Garoppolo. The belief is that at some point the 49ers may end up getting forced to release him. This, to me, if I'm Cleveland, I'm like, look, We'll give you a 7th round. We'll give you a bag of bones. Go ahead and let him out now.
Yeah, but I think there's going to be another player now. It's the Saints with Jameis Winston back in problems again with his foot. A foot is a dangerous thing. We're not getting much about it. But if that's serious enough, I'm not sure the Saints then wouldn't jump in this, which might up the ante a little bit if there's 2 of them going after him.
Where 2 or more are gathered, price goes up. What else, Billy?
George, we got item number 4, and we go to baseball now. Trevor Bauer in the news. The woman who accused Dodgers pitcher Trevor Bauer of sexual assault a year ago is now suing him for sexual battery. The Southern California woman filed a suit Tuesday, so a couple days ago, the latest legal salvo between the 2 parties. So Trevor Bauer could be in trouble.
You know what I think, Watson?
What you got?
Trevor Bauer will never pitch in the majors again.
Ooh, well, that's pretty strong.
Well, and I'll tell you why I think so. Number one, the Dodgers, when he got placed on administrative leave a year ago, there were a group of Dodgers that went to the front office and said, do not bring him back. They didn't want any part of him. Now, don't get me wrong, he's a terrific pitcher. But right now, it's a 2-year suspension, which is the longest active one that's out there. You know, at that point, if we think Deshaun Watson has rust, you know, it will have been 2.5 years for Trevor Bauer. And I'm sure some of the teams that might sit there and say, well, he's an 18 to 20 game winner. Well, is he after 2.5 years of inactivity?
I'm going to disagree with you. I just think some of the down the road teams that are looking for starting pitching in the worst way will take a shot at him after 2.5. I just believe they will. How old is he, George? Do you know?
He's in his 30s.
So that might be the piece now. If we looked at that, and when he comes back, he's going to be 34 or something. Now that could be because he is a strong arm guy. He's not a tinker around pitcher. He throws it by you, and I'm going to tell you, when you lose that, when you're a fastball pitcher first, and you lose that, you better find a knuckleball pretty quick because they're going to pound you pretty good.
What else?
We'll see how much gas he's got left in the tank, George. But more baseball tonight. Special game tonight. The Chicago Cubs and the Cincinnati Reds near the Iowa Field of Dreams, of course, from the famous 1989 film in Dyersville, Iowa. 6:15 p.m. local time, first pitch tonight on Fox. The Reds are 1.5 run favorites. I was going to say point, but 1.5 run favorite tonight. George, that game was great last year. White Sox and Yankees. I would expect more of the same tonight.
Well, first of all, our buddy Danny Evans is the one putting this thing on. And a year ago, oh my God, he hit a home run in so many different ways. I'm looking forward to seeing what rabbits he pulls out of the hat tonight, Watson, because I thought a year ago it was about the best thing Major League Baseball had until the Braves won it all.
Of course, I knew that was coming, but
yes.
I mean, the players that last inning, George, wow. I mean, what a special night that was with the Yankees and the White Sox, and just one hit, one out, and they take the lead. The other one comes back and hits one out. They take the lead.
Crazy.
It couldn't have had a grand finale. Excuse me, any better than it did.
The ball was flying out of that ballpark.
Oh yeah. So Danny is going to join us tomorrow at 5:00 on the button. Cannot wait to get his reactions, all of the planning, all the stuff that went on behind the scenes. It's an amazing story what they have done. As a lot of you know, they had a minor league game earlier this week as part of the whole festivities, and now they are building a big old complex of baseball fields around all of this, and it's just an amazing deal. Nothing more needs to be said.
Nothing. I mean, it is. Name something that MLB has done better. Nothing.
I thought you were going to say, name something that MLB has done right.
Well, you could even do that.
The
This
only
they
thing-
did right. I'm not
when they
sure how
gave-
much they had to do with it. Danny did it right. He and Frank Thomas did it right.
All
I'm not
Danny.
The
this
only
is
other
making
thing
it
is when they gave the Braves the trophy.
Oh, jeez.
Yes.
The worst
Hey,
front runner.
One last one, though, that's not on our little sheet because it came down about 15 minutes ago. Tom Izzo has signed a 5-year contract extension at Michigan State. That guy can coach. This
Yeah.
just in.
No, he's a very good coach, and he's not done yet either. I'm telling you,
No.
He'll be back. He'll be a factor again at Michigan State.
He's won a national title there. Don't rule it out that he does that again. So I mentioned earlier, we've got all this Titan stuff for you, and we do. Blake Beddingfield, who is a former Titan scout, and he really knows his stuff. He will join us after the break. Then at 5 o'clock today, Watson Brown's analysis of Ryan Tannehill, both good and bad. And then we'll get knee-deep into tonight's preseason game in a way you probably never saw coming. So stick around. We got a good show for you. This is Main Street Media Television.
Buying or selling a home can be a very personal experience. Why not go with the team that receives nearly all of their business from referrals? Clearly a trusted name in real estate. The Justin Tucker team with Platinum Realty Partners has sold more than 500 homes in the last 7 years. Voted best in Sumner County multiple times. Proven to be trusted with your most personal assets. Call the Justin Tucker team with Platinum Realty Partners at 615-906-8458. The Justin Tucker team with Platinum Realty Partners, Middle Tennessee's most trusted team in realty.
I highly recommend Sumner Funeral and Cremation because of their caring nature and attentiveness to detail.
Pre-planning your funeral now will bring you peace of mind and less stress to your loved ones. When the chaos of losing you happens, your family can honor and celebrate your life, knowing things are happening just as you wanted them to. Pre-planning determines the details of your funeral, cemetery services, and can be less expensive. We are honored to serve you and are always here for you in your time of need.
Sumner Funeral and Cremation. Traditional, affordable, dignified. SumnerFuneral.com.
Jody Jones Dentistry can handle all your dental needs, from the basics to cosmetic procedures. All of this in the nicest dental facility I have ever seen. Jody has done it right. They're located conveniently at 55 Music Square East, and for an appointment, it's simple. Dial 615-259-5100 and tell them Plaz sent you. When you're thinking about golf, consider Riverside Golf Links. Under new ownership, the course has improved dramatically. It's now 27 holes, complemented by a 9-hole executive course. Book a tee time now at 615-847-5074 and get ready to enjoy the beauty of golf in the Old Hickory area at Riverside Golf Links.
I'm Bart Durham.
I was sworn in as a lawyer in 1963, and I've been working as a lawyer since then.
We're a firm that does exclusively personal injury, a lot of tractor-trailer crashes. Insurance companies will open up their checkbooks when you force them to.
We have systems that work.
We get the most money for our clients in the shortest amount of time.
I'm Blair Durham. My dad and I want to help. Give us a call at 615-242-9000.
I think journalism is like politics. It's all local, and I think Main Street Media has really hit on something that I've been preaching for 50 years. And keep the news local, right? Local stories for local readers, and that's what I like about Main Street Media. I finally found somebody who agrees with me philosophically about concentrate on local subjects, local topics, and you'll bring your readers in.
We are back. Very excited about our first guest. Blake Beddingfield is a former Tennessee Titans scout, and some of you have heard him over the years. He's got terrific info, really knows how to deliver it. So I am thrilled to say hello to him. Let's bring him up here. Blake, how are you?
I'm doing great, George. It's good to be on with you.
Listen, thank you for taking the time to do this. So we'll go a variety of places with this, but I want to start with an issue that, to be honest, happened while I was out of town on vacation, and that was right before the NFL draft. John Robinson made the move to send A.J. Brown to Philadelphia. There's no doubt about A.J. Brown's ability. In your opinion, what really went down that led them to trade him?
You know, when you look at it, George, it's all about money. And, you know, AJ was coming into the last year of his 4-year contract. With him being a second-round pick, they didn't have that fifth-year option, so they only had the 4 years, which really put them in a bind at that point. It forced them into a situation to trade one of their better players, kind of one of their bell cows on offense when you talk about Derrick Henry, especially being kind of the lead dog on the offense. A.J. Brown was that number 2, and he was a very important part of that offense and the way they want to establish their identity, and with that physicality, with that toughness. And A.J. Brown had that. But when it came down to it, he wanted to get paid, and he kind of forced the hand of the team, which ultimately forced them to trade him for draft choices. Put them in a tough bind for a team that wants to win now. Their window to win is now. And A.J. Brown is that player. Relying on a rookie to fill that role is going to be a tough thing this year in 2022.
Okay, I'll show my ignorance here. I don't pretend to get all the salary cap stuff, but people will ask this. Then why was Philly willing to do it and the Titans weren't? Is it simply better cap positioning for them?
You know, it's a philosophy, and you know, there's some people. Howie Roseman with the Eagles kind of has that win now mentality every year. You can see it with some of the moves that he's made, whether it's big price free agents or things like this with a trade of a player that's going to require a contract extension when they make that trade. So, you know, in that situation, Howie Roseman has his foot on the gas pedal all the time. Not to say that the Titans don't. They're just in a different situation. They wanted to not only extend their life as a successful team, which they can do with a younger receiver, but it puts them in a hole this year, relying on a rookie to fill the shoes of a player that really is going into his prime years. When you're talking about a 4th-year receiver, that's really when you want them. You want them in that 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th year. That's the prime years of a receiver, and A.J. Brown is just starting to hit that.
Blake, in mid-January, when everybody filed out after the loss to Cincinnati, there was a lot of anger. Some of it may have been alcohol-related. But bottom line, people were hacked off about a number of things about that loss. They didn't feel the coaching staff did its best work. They certainly didn't feel like Ryan Tannehill did his best work. I think there's sort of a kind of a target on Tannehill's back right now that maybe he has not faced here before. Number one, do you agree with that? And secondly, how do you think he'll handle the added pressure?
You know, it's the nature of the position. I mean, you're paid a lot of money. His salary cap hit this year is enormous, and it carries the team. But he's the quarterback. That's part of the role of that position. But this team was put in a tough position without Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's the best player on this team, hands down, no question about it. And with they were able to survive with him up until the playoffs. But when you get into the playoffs and everything gets a little bit tougher, a little bit tighter, and they're facing some good teams, you know, you need that running back to carry this team like he has over the past 3 years. So, you know, Ryan's going to have a lot of pressure on him. There's no question. Can he handle it? You know, there's some people that'll say he didn't handle it very well in Miami, which kind of got his exit into Tennessee. You know, back a few years ago. So, you know, Ryan's a veteran quarterback. I know that he would have loved to play better, but he also didn't have the personnel around him that he normally does to have the ultimate success in the playoffs. He's got Derrick Henry back. He's going to have to groom some of these younger receivers. That's going to really be big. And a new receiver in Robert Woods. Not a young receiver, a veteran receiver. Good pickup, by the way. But someone that, is going to really – he's going to rely on along with the tight end, Austin Hooper. But, I think it's warranted. He didn't play well in that playoff game, but I wouldn't put everything on Ryan Tannehill in that game. Looking at some of the interceptions, that wasn't always on him. He just happened to make the throw.
So let me kind of take this a little bit farther. This is just an opinion. I don't think the Titans went into the draft thinking Malik Willis. I don't think they probably thought he'd be available when he was. So all of a sudden, in my theory, he just sort of popped on their radar. But when he was available, is it a message to Ryan Tannehill, not only the fact that they got a real athletic talent, but sort of a, hey, by the way, you're not going to be here much longer?
I think what it is, George, it's a chance to take a player that has really good talent. He's got some development that needs to be a part of his game. He's got a good arm. He's got good feet. He's a good athlete. But he really wasn't asked to do a lot in the Liberty offense. He's going to be asked to do a lot more in the NFL. But he's got the players around him to have success. Again, they just drafted a first-round wide receiver to kind of grow with Malik Willis at quarterback. They brought in the tight end. Austin Hooper. They have Derrick Henry. They have the semblance of an offensive line that can help him out. So if he's asked to play, he can do some things. He's just not ready right now. But does it put pressure on Ryan? Probably not this year, but in 2023, yes. If he shows that growth and the maturity and the development that this team wants, then yeah, he's going to put pressure on it because Ryan's a big cap number. He's a veteran quarterback. He's on the kind of the long side of 30 years old, and you're looking to have that younger replacement. If he can do that in a third-round pick, that's an excellent value for the team. If not, it's a third-round pick. It's a two-deep player. It's a situational starter. It's a nickel corner. It's a backup linebacker. So the value there to take a quarterback that they felt strongly in, it was probably a good pick at the time. Now it's time to develop. Do they have the coaches in place in that building to develop the player? That just because you say that doesn't mean that it's going to happen. Do they have those people? I'm not saying whether they do or don't. I'm just saying that it takes a developing type quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, and then to put the offensive around him to make him successful.
Okay, last thing before I turn it to Watson Brown. There's a group out there saying, man, give Malik Willis with this great athletic ability a package of plays, kind of the old Cordell Stewart or Antoine Randall L kind of stuff that the Steelers used to do. There's another school of thought that says, don't put him in that position in his rookie year. Where would you go with it?
I think with his skill set is different, but Ryan's a good athlete. Ryan Tannehill is a very good athlete and has done a lot of good things with his feet.
We may have lost him there. Blake, you still there?
Played, so you can have that if you have an outstanding running back. So can you put in a package? Yes. But do you put yourself in a position where he has some limited success, maybe some immediate success, where the fans start really crying for this player to be on the field? We went through that with Steve McNair and Neil O'Donnell. Steve McNair was the player on the team. He was the quarterback, no question about it. But Neil had some success on a very good team in 99, and there were a lot of fans that wanted Neil O'Donnell to continue to play. I think Neil was the one that came out and said, no, Steve's the guy. Is Malik that type player? I don't know, but I think you probably could put a package in for him, and they haven't been afraid of that in the past, to have certain packages for people, not necessarily quarterbacks, but different personnel. And they could possibly do that, but I don't think this coaching staff is really afraid of having those situations, those kind of controversial type situations. It doesn't seem that way. But can Ryan Tannehill handle that? I think that's the thing that they have to know inside that building. Can he handle the backup quarterback having some success? We'll probably see tonight a lot of the backup quarterback in the first preseason game.
Okay, I think all of you can tell very early just how good Blake Beddingfield is. Watson, say hello to him.
Blake, first question I got is, last year to me was absolutely the time for the Titans to go. The division was not very good. and we were good. And then the injury to Derrick Henry and all that, and then we lose in the first round. To me, this year, we're not sitting near as pretty as we were last year. I mean, first of all, the Colts have now got a quarterback that can make plays and could be a very capable leader of that team. So it's not going to be a walk through the division kind of like it was last year. And I just think when you take A.J. Brown out of this group, he was becoming a leader. He was becoming – everybody's eyes would go to A.J. when we needed a play. And now we're going to a rookie with that. I just don't think we're sitting near as pretty as we were a year ago going into the season.
You know, Coach Brown, first of all, it's a pleasure to be on with you. I've always thought a lot of you, especially when I was a scout and would come down to UAB and other schools that you were at. It was fantastic. But so I'm happy to be on with you. But I agree with you. I think the window is tight. I thought last year they had the window of last year and this year. With A.J. Brown, that window is closing, and it's closing fast. You got rid of Roger Saffold at the left guard position, he had some injuries with a little bit of a shoulder and a stinger, but he was a powerful run blocker for Derrick Henry. Taylor Lewan is on the other side of 30. Ben Jones is 33. You're starting to get older. You're getting a second-year right tackle now and a left guard that really hasn't started many games in Aaron Brewer. So you're having to replace a strength on that team. Now, they did bring in Robert Woods, who's coming off an ACL. So you have a lot of question marks going into this year. I think the one thing that they can rely on right now, Coach, is probably that front seven. You've got a stout defensive line with Autry and Jeffrey Simmons. You paid the two pass rushers and Bud Dupree and Harold Landry. The inside backers should be solid. Now, on the back end, you have two excellent safeties in Hooker and Byer, but the corners are young. You got a young Caleb Farley who really didn't get to play last year. Christian Fulton, who's gone through injuries in his years there. Elijah Molden, who was the nickel corner, who's kind of been replaced off and on. They drafted a second-round pick in Roger McCreary, who's probably going to take that nickel role. So, you've got some new pieces at the corner position, which is really going to be an important part of it, especially if the pass rush is as good as they hope. But I agree with you, Coach. I think the window's closing. They've got to start bringing in some youth. And part of the A.J. Brown trade was bringing in a young guy, but A.J. Brown was a young player. He was just, like I said, in the prime of his career. You would have liked to have added a Treylon Burks to A.J. Brown and Robert Woods and have that three-headed monster instead of now relying on an aged veteran in Woods and now the rookie. That's going to be tough, and the defenses already converge on Derrick Henry, and they probably will even more now without an A.J. Brown in the lineup.
The one thing, and Blake, I vividly remember when you'd come to UAB and stay with us, and you always were first class. And so those are the top things as we get older and get out of the business that you think back about. It's relationships, it's people. It's not where you are or whatever. So it was always neat to have you there. I think I'm not so sure they didn't let AJ go because I think their philosophy is, Blake, offensively, we're very simple and we're going to hand it to Derrick Henry. And if that's working, we're going to throw RPOs and play action passes out the kazoo, which you get a ton of one-on-one when Derrick is rolling because they got to get the extra guy down in the box. So it's simpler sometimes to play at a young age with the Titans than it is the Chargers or some of these other wide open, the Bills. And I'm not so sure that isn't part of the philosophy to say we can replace AJ because of our style.
I think you're right. And again, I don't think that coaching staff is afraid to do that. They're not afraid to throw a young player in there and just kind of put him out there like you mentioned. And I think they're going to do that with Treylon Burks. They're going to do that with the UCLA receiver from the 5th round. They're going to put people in a position and see if they can make plays. If not, it'll be like last year with Nick Westbrook-Akina, somebody that was a special teams player that they threw in there at receiver and said, okay, here's the routes that you do best. A little bit of that Bill Belichick philosophy when you talk about mixing and matching with personnel, not necessarily relying on one individual player, which is kind of what they're going to have to do this year without an A.J. Brown. You look at some of the veteran influences like a Julio Jones from last year, just couldn't stay healthy, but you could see what they were trying to do with the personnel that they brought in. It just didn't work out. But this year, I think you're right. I think they're going to rely on some of these guys and just ask them to go play. And they just need to have the depth, and along with the depth, the talent to make that happen, because Derek's getting a little bit older. He's got the foot issue. He's got screws in his foot right now. Hopefully he can stay healthy. I love to watch him play. I love to watch him run. He's such a dynamic player, such a dominant player, when he's out there, and I love to watch him. So hopefully he can stay healthy, but there are some situation or some issues with that foot. Hopefully those are long gone.
Yeah. George, my last thing, Blake, I really believe this season more than any season with the Titans totally comes down to the offensive line and the defensive line. If we're dominant there, especially the offensive line, because we were dominant last year in the defensive line, if we'll just keep coming with that. But if that offensive line gets back to 2 years ago, we'll be a factor deep into the playoffs. If that offensive line does not look like the group from 2 years ago, I think we become an average football team at that point.
I think you're right. And it seems to always go back to the lines. I don't care what era of football you're in. You can control a lot of things by having an outstanding offensive and defensive line. And I think they have the makings of a defensive line, especially with Autry, what he brings, and Jeffrey Simmons, who's really going to be going into his last year, is going to need a big contract. And I'm sure he's going to be playing, not that he needs motivation, but he's going to be playing motivated to get that big contract. But Bud Dupree, Harold Landry are going to be so important as well on that outside. Tier Tart, who came on last year and had some good snaps at the nose guard position. But that offensive line coach is going to be important. Taylor Lewan's got to play 17 games. He's got to be healthy. You can't go to that second team left tackle. Ben Jones, who starts to show some decline, but what Ben is the glue of that team. He's the leader of that offensive line. But the skills are starting to diminish. And you got the new guard on the left side in Aaron Brewer, who's an undersized athletic player, but you're replacing a big, strong power run guy in Roger Saffold. And the right tackle is the second-round pick out of North Dakota State. It's going to be time for him to play. They put a lot of resources into the offensive line, whether it's through free agency or the draft, and now they got to start having some success with it. But I agree with you, Coach. If the offensive line is an average unit, which has always been a very good unit for the Titans for the last 3 or 4 years, if it's an average unit, this could be an average football team.
Yeah. By the way, it's just gotten out that looks like Malik Willis may be the starter tonight and not Logan Woodside. Blake, let me ask you this, and I'm putting you on the spot, and feel free to tell me to stuff it if you can't. Would you stick with us during the commercial break and then come back for about 8-10 minutes?
Sure, happy to.
Beautiful. We'll have more with Blake Beddingfield when we come back. You're watching Main Street Media Television.
For Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly, they welcome every opportunity to serve and satisfy their clients. Whether you are looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and remodel is unique, luxurious, completed on time, and within budget. Contact them today to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects by logging on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
At WellSkin Dermatology and Aesthetics, we pride ourselves in providing access, innovation, and a patient experience second to none. Access to care and treatment when you need it. Innovation with medical-led cosmetics and various on-site technologies for full-service treatments with a customer experience that is calming, casual, and effective. Independently owned, providing medical, surgical, pediatric, and cosmetic dermatology and more. Visit WellSkinMD.com to schedule your appointment today. WellSkin Dermatology and Aesthetics. Access to healthier skin. It's your last chance to get a spring tune-up for summer. Complete Service Heat and Air can clean your coils, check out your motor, and make sure you have cold air on that first hot day of summer. Complete Service Heat and Air is located in White Bluff, Tennessee. We do service and repair on heating and air the right way. 24/7 service. Call us at 615-797-3997. That's 615-797-3997. Serving Cheatham, Davidson, Dixon, Hickman, Humphreys, Montgomery, and Williamson counties. Have you heard about the high levels of radon in Middle Tennessee? Radon gas is the second leading cause of lung cancer, second only to smoking, and has no color, no taste, and no smell. The only way to know if you have radon is to test for it. Duret Radon Mitigation offers testing for small and large-scale residential and commercial properties, plus mitigation services. Visit DuretRadonMitigation.com to request testing or get a free estimate for mitigation. That's DuretRadonMitigation.com. Since 1865, the First Baptist Church of Gallatin on Winchester Street has served its community by catering to the least, the last, and the lost, providing a church of welcome used by God to save the lost, transform the saved, and impact its community. As a proud multi-ethnic congregation, Pastor Derek Jackson personally welcomes you to join them in fellowship Sunday mornings at 8 in person or at 1045 in person or online at firstbaptistgallatin.org. First Baptist Gallatin on Winchester Street, serving with open arms as a true church of welcome.
We are off and rolling on this Thursday afternoon. A great first guest, former Titan scout Blake Beddingfield is with us. And right before we went to the break, I put it out there. It's been reported Malik Willis will be the starter tonight, which for me is a surprise. So, Blake, let's read the tea leaves. What do you make of that?
You know, I think it gives him a chance to start the game from the beginning, just like he did in college. You know, get to go through warm-ups, be fresh, not coming in the second quarter or maybe even after half. Get to kind of run some plays, you know, before the game starts and just get a feel for it. Kind of get lathered up, get hot and sweaty, and get ready to roll, and know that it's his game to start off. And I think that's good for a rookie. I think that's probably a smart move. Logan Woodside's been around for a few years. They know what he's about. This is a lot about not only the gameplay, but it's a development part of the game. And if they've drafted him in the third round, they're seeing him as potentially a future starter. Let's develop him as a starter, kind of like what we talked about. Let's get him going early, put some plays in that's going to allow him to have some success early on. Put him in there with probably not a lot of starters, but if there are a few starters, they're going to be in the game with him. And I think it's a smart move to let him start the game. You know, not necessarily for the fans, but more for the coaching staff and for Malik.
Okay, let's go back on Woodside, because I don't know what they know or what they don't know. To me, August football doesn't tell me squat. What is he in your mind, and do you think they really do know enough?
You know, I think they do. Logan Woodside is he's a solid quarterback with a good arm. He's not a dynamic passer, but what he is a very accurate player. He protects the football. He distributes the football. That is something that you want to see out of your second team quarterback, someone that's going to protect it. If he's in the game, you're going to be handing the ball off to Derrick Henry and getting the ball to your playmakers. That's what his job is going to be. Not to carry the team, not to put the team on his back, but just to be a distributor of the ball and put the ball in the hands of playmakers. That's what Logan Woodside is. That's what a backup quarterback is, and that's what he has been. You know, Malik Willis is a little bit different. He has a little bit more of a dynamic skill set, and that's what they're going to try to ask of him, is to see if he has that ability to be a starting quarterback. Logan Woodside isn't a starting quarterback in the NFL. Can he for a game or two? Yes. But the more he plays, the more weaknesses show up in his game. Nothing against him. It's just what his talent level kind of dictates.
Okay, you're going to love this. Billy, if you will, put Watson in this picture as well. I want to get all three of us the reaction. Okay. So you've got two great football minds here in Watson Brown and Blake Beddingfield. And then you got me. And here is the kind of question that somebody like me who has not played football at a high level, not past fifth grade, would ask. Blake, this is one I don't get. 2 years ago, they couldn't pass rush anybody. But yet, by the time they played the Bengals last year, they looked like the best front four in football. Joe Burrow was running for his life. And if any group deserved to win that game, man, it was that front four. They were incredible. How in the world did they transform to what they became?
Part of it's personnel, and you bring in a Bud Dupree and you pay him a significant amount of money to be a pass rusher. He wasn't that same player he was in Pittsburgh early in the year, coming off that ACL. Harold Landry going into a contract year, he always plays hard. He always had a really good effort. A good pass rusher, not one of the better in the league, but a really good pass rusher. But the key was the Danico Autry's. Jeffrey Simmons kind of emerging as a pass rusher. Jeffrey Simmons was a dominating rundown player his first couple of years in the league, but he really showed some pass rush, probably that last 7 to 8 games. Had a couple of games where he was just really dominant. Danico Autry being a pass rusher, adding some length and some size and some quickness to the team, along with those outside rushers, really kind of transformed that team. So it was some personnel and it was some players developing. And I think they did a good job of developing, a Jeffrey Simmons as a rusher, and then Harold Landry.
Any reason they won't be like that again this year?
No, they should. Jeffrey Simmons is a young guy. Harold Landry and Bud Dupree are in their prime years. Danico Autry's on the other side of 30, but his skill set is the type where they play him limited reps anyway and allow him to rush the passer on most downs. He can play the run. He's a good player, but that front four, or that four-man group right there, should still be a dominant type group like they were toward the end of last year.
Okay, Watson, let's get the brilliant minds back into this. If you've got one or two more for Blake, fire away.
Blake, what we talked about earlier with the offensive line and how they've got to be good, and talking about Derrick Henry, I think you can put the same thing on Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill is a player that fits the system they run. And if they're running the ball well and Ryan gets to flash it to somebody and throw it to one guy, he's pretty dead young good. Or he can run his own read and keep the ball. He played wide receiver at Texas A&M part of his time there. So I not only think the offensive line is big for Derrick, but I think it's big for Ryan, because when that offensive line wasn't good last year, or Derrick Henry got injured, Ryan fell off big time. And personally, I don't think that he didn't perform. It shows some of the skill level that isn't what his best qualities are. Would you agree with that?
I agree 100%, Coach. And I believe that adding that tight end, kind of an extension of that offensive line, and Austin Hooper, was something they didn't have last year. That's that little security blanket that he needed, that he lost when they let Jonnu Smith leave. And I think adding that tight end is kind of that quick outlet pass receiver, someone where, especially in that RPO game and in the play action game, even more importantly, those linebackers bite hard on Derrick Henry, and right behind you can sit that tight end in front of those safeties, and really have a nice little kind of a short passing attack that Ryan Tannehill likes to have at times, especially with those rookie. But I think the offensive line is going to be so important to Ryan. He's a tough guy, but it's going to be tough if that wall breaks down, and that pass rush really becomes a problem for them. You're relying on the rookie slot receiver. You're relying on the rookie outside receiver. And Robert Woods has never been a burner. They don't have the down the field vertical threats. So, what are you going to have? That offensive line is going to be real important to protect Ryan. Not only open up the run game, but to protect the quarterback. Again, he's getting older. He's on the other side of 30, and he's not getting any younger, even though he's a good athlete.
Yeah. And the smart move I thought last year, Blake, was what they did with Autry. On early downs, I thought they really did a good job of that defensive line. On early downs, he played in. He was on the outside on rundowns. And then when they went to that fearsome foursome on passing downs, they slid him inside, and he became a much better pass rusher when they slid him inside. And he's so tall, and then Simmons is so strong. I thought the push in the middle is what caused the ends to get the sacks, especially Landry, because that push in the middle on those passing downs was unbelievable. And I give Mike and the defensive guys a lot of credit for doing that. And also by doing that, it was able to rest Dupree, who was still not healthy till about midseason. And Dupree and Landry kind of rolled in and out, gave them. Of course, they had Tart on the early downs inside. Then they took him out on those passing downs and put Autry in there. I just thought the personnel moves they made last year in the defensive front won them a lot of games.
I think that versatility, Coach, of Autry was real important, and they got to see that 2 times a year when he was playing for the Colts and how effective he was and really being a disruptor. The Colts had him as a kind of an end and then moved him inside and played some defensive tackle. But he's kind of a slant guy. He's a guy that's going to get into a gap and be a disruptor and force plays to other people, kind of like what you mentioned. And he's still doing that today. Now, he's athletic enough to make a sack or at least make a pressure in a hurry. But Jeffrey Simmons is a little bit different player. He's a power player that's got some good quickness. Bud Dupree is a power to speed guy, and Harold Landry usually tries to work the edge. So they kind of have a combination with those 4 players of 4 different skill sets. But Autry, I think, is a big part of it. And when he was signed a year ago, I was really excited for him because I thought that was kind of the missing piece. There hasn't been a player on the Titans defensive front with that kind of height and length, like you mentioned, in a long time. And that not only allows you to kind of get in the gaps and be a disruptor as a rusher, but the passing lanes, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and the last thing, George, to me was Tart was a big piece of this too. And we don't talk enough about him because he made a lot of plays on those early downs, a lot of plays. And he's getting to rest people because they're kind of rolling them all. And I felt that as the year went on, Blake, they didn't look tired in the fourth quarter. I thought they did a great job of in and out, putting this one in. And they really did it with, 5 guys? But they rolled them in such a way, they didn't look tired in fourth quarters to me.
No, I agree.
1 minute.
Go ahead. I agree with you. I think Tart is a valuable piece. And when you have a smaller inside backer like David Long behind him, Tart takes so many blockers off of him. He's kind of a rat ball player anyway. He's a see ball, go get ball, kind of inside rundown player. And when he's allowed to have free reign, free runs because of Jeffrey Simmons, because of Tart, he's allowed to make plays and can be an undersized backer in the NFL with that kind of nose tackle in Tart.
Yeah, man, I love listening to the two of you all talk football. This has been a real treat. Blake, thank you so much for coming on with us.
Hey, it's football season. I enjoy talking. So anytime y'all call, let me know.
Bring it on. Thank you so much.
You bet. My pleasure.
See you, Blake.
Good. Blake Beddingfield, former Titans scout, joining us here on the show. When we come back, it is Stat of the Day, which may not be pretty, but it's Main Street Media Television. Tell me a little bit about your company.
So Stop Realty has been around since 1974. We are your hometown brokerage. It is family owned by me. We have 30 agents that are waiting to help you with all your real estate needs. That counts as residential, commercial, and property management. We also will be getting into the auction business at the end of this month as well. We have listings that range from every price range that you can think of on the real estate market. I know Shelley Tucker has a new listing coming up in Gallatin. Heather Patton has one in Madison right around the corner here. I have one coming up myself. We have everything you need as far as real estate, and we have the expertise to help you out.
Beautiful. Give them a phone number.
Phone numbers for the office is 615-822-0750. You can find us on the web at www.onestoprealty.tn.com.
Thanks for getting involved with us.
George,
really appreciate this. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
I think so.
Serving Williamson and surrounding counties, Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee offers comprehensive orthopedic care with 16 subspecialized physicians. Our practice provides high-tech care with a hometown touch. We offer physician clinics, physical and occupational therapy, advanced imaging, and surgical services, including interventional procedures. Call us at 615-791-2630. We're Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee. High-tech care with a hometown touch.
This is attorney Bart Durham, and this is me. I'm Aaliyah. Keeping in good physical condition is really important to me. But when I had a wreck with a tractor-trailer truck that hurt my legs so bad I couldn't work for almost a year, I knew I needed a lawyer that understood tractor-trailer cases. So I called Bart. Bart gets millions of dollars for his clients every year.
At Bart Durham Injury Law, we've handled hundreds of tractor-trailer cases.
My dad and I want to help. Give us a call at 615-242-9000.
Hey everyone, I'm John English. This is Keith Wallace, and we would like to welcome you to John English Antique Sports and Cards in Shelbyville, Tennessee.
We specialize in graded and ungraded sports and non-sports cards, vintage wax boxes, and unopened cases. We have a large selection of PSA graded cards. We also specialize in old sports collectibles, baseball, football, basketball, golf, and tennis. You can find it all at John English Antique Sports and Cards.
We are happy to be associated with Nashville's greatest sports antique, George Plaster.
Welcome back into the George Plaster Show. This is not George. This is the producer, Billy Derrick, and I will get to the stat of the day read here. Of course, this is powered by John English Vintage Sports and Cards. They specialize in antique and historical sports equipment, games, advertising, and other sport-related items. You can visit John English Sports and Cards in Shelbyville, open Tuesdays through Fridays from noon to 5 p.m. and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Visit JohnEnglishGradedCards.com for more information. And we go now to today's stat of the day. Who was the first golfer to reach $1 million in career earnings on the PGA Tour?
Okay, you let Watson and I try to handle this before you butt in at all. Okay?
A lot of confidence.
Maybe. Watson, the first thing that's popping to me is Arnold Palmer.
Arlen Jack would be the first, but I'm telling you, George, the money wasn't near what it is today back then. So this one may be a little bit of a setup. It may be somebody else. Would it be Tiger?
Well, no, it was. Now, look, do I know? Of course not. My gut feeling.
Tiger was in the 90s. I'm telling you, the money wasn't great back in Arnold and Jack's time.
Okay, let me ask you this, Watson. Back when Arnold Palmer was doing all that winning, what do you think he was making for a victory on the tour? Give me a number.
75,000, maybe.
Then you know what?
50,000.
Then you know what? I'm going with him. Now, if you got somebody better,
no,
feel strong.
Me, it would be Arnold, Jack, or Gary Player. The other one is that would be bad to throw in here because his name is not good right now is Greg Norman. Greg won a lot of tournaments right in there.
Yeah,
George. He did. So pick one. I'm not sure.
I want to go Arnold.
Okay.
All right. George is going with Arnold Palmer. And both of you are right. How about that?
There you go.
That's called I'm Your Daddy.
I think that's back-to-back stat of the day correct answers.
Okay, so I'm supposed to feel good because I got one. And I felt pretty comfortable that when Watson threw out that number 50 to 75,000 that Arnold won a ton of tournaments. But Watson, right about the time I want to feel good, something has hit the wire that makes me want to go to the right and throw up.
Uh-oh.
Max Fried placed on the IL. It used to be the DL. It's now the injury list because of a concussion. And there obviously some things have happened. I haven't had the time to see exactly what's gone on, but there was a play last weekend at Citi Field in New York when they played the Mets where he made a dive for a ball and hit his head. And I knew then, boy, that doesn't look good. And so obviously there have been some things that have happened since then. And for the Atlanta Braves, he is the last person in the world they need to lose.
I don't think that'll be long. I give it maybe a week. And that's what I would bet.
Yeah.
It has to be 2. Does it have to be 2 when they do that?
No, I think I'm right that it's a 10-day DL.
Whatever it is.
And what that would clear them for, Watson, is let me think. The Mets is next Monday, isn't it?
Yep.
Ooh.
No, he won't pitch against the Mets.
So Scherzer and DeGrom versus no Max Fried. That's a bad combination if you love the wigwam.
It ain't good on paper. They don't play the games on paper, though, George.
No, they don't. So we're at hour number 2. We've hit the 5 o'clock hour. And as all of you know, the Titans are in Baltimore tonight to play the Ravens in the opening preseason game. Now, by the time you get to the fourth quarter, on both sides, you may see some future bartenders. But I thought tonight that we would run through some important stuff on Ryan Tannehill, because anybody who was in that stadium at the end of the loss to Cincinnati, it was as though all of the blame was placed on him. And we know that's not fair. However, there's some things we do need to look at about Ryan Tannehill. And so with that in mind, we've put some graphics together that we're really going to want to get Watson to respond to. So, Billy, let's take the first one and go with it.
So this big one or the next, the 4 topics?
Let's go with this one.
Okay.
So, Watson, down at the bottom, one of the things that is concerning, and apparently we did not put his 2021 QB rating in there. He's gone from a 117 2 years ago down to an 89 quarterback rating a year ago. Give me some thoughts, first of all, on that.
One big thought named Derrick Henry. I said it to Blake earlier. Ryan Tannehill is made for the offense the Titans want to run. He is not made for a drop back 5 out. That's not him. To me, he doesn't react quick enough. I think we're going to get into some of this when it's you got to look here, then throw. That's just not him. If you watch him when he's really good, fakes the ball and throws it to one guy. And that's when he's very good.
And normally that was A.J. Brown on about a 12-yard slant.
That was A.J. a lot of the time, but that's when he was accurate, when he was at his best. But the more it got into the down and distance, that old QBR rating went down, which with all of them is going to do a little bit. But that's a big fall off from 117 to 89, George.
Okay, in those numbers, and this is where it's not his fault, 47 sacks. He took an absolute beating a year ago, and every time I thought, oh, Lord, he's not going to get up, he kept getting up. His toughness, nobody can question. But Watson, if that number is anywhere near that this year, he's not getting up.
No, he's getting older, and you can only get beat on as a quarterback so much. And I would say out of those 47 sacks, George, probably 15 of them at least were on him, because I think he holds the ball way too long in the pocket. He's not a throwaway guy very much. He seems to stand there. One of the things I do not think fundamentally he's good at is moving around with balance in the pocket and looking for a next guy. He's kind of a stationary or just take off and scramble. And I think that stationariness and holding the ball too long, I'm going to say 15 to 20 of those sacks were on him.
Okay, let's go now to the second sheet that we put together. I asked Watson to sort of give us the Tannehill game plan for 2022. And okay, let's start at the bottom of the screen. You see improved drop back passing. So I'm going to be a little cynical about this, Watson. He's 33 years old. If he's not at a level drop back passing by now, it isn't going to happen.
I will totally disagree with that. I guess
I knew you would enjoy doing that.
No, not really on this one. The old quarterback coach in me, I always feel like everybody can improve if they want to improve. And I saw things that he did that he could get better at. And I don't know if they've got to rep him more on certain pass patterns. He looked slow going from one receiver to the second. And that's reps. That's knowledge. You can improve that. As I said, his sliding in the pocket, waiting for the second guy to come open, wasn't good at that. He sit very stationary. These are drills that they can do with Ryan and should have been doing all spring. And if I'm the quarterback coach, I would have given him these drills in the winter to do. I do think he can improve his drop back passing. Do I think he's going to be one of the top drop back passers in the league? No, but he can improve. And that's where I think his rating will come up if he gets better on those third down and second and long kind of things.
Okay, let's go now to item number 2 that was on Watson's list. 14 interceptions a year ago, 4 fumbles that were lost. How much of that are you putting on him?
Honestly, it's as I said, it comes out of his hand, so he has to take the credit for it. Let's go to the last interception of the year that finished the season. He threw it right where it's got to be thrown to a Kenny. Remember, it was a hook route.
Yes.
But the DB overplayed him. And honestly, Ryan had one of 2 thoughts. He had to try to throw it. He could see it's overplayed, and he looked for AJ, who was running a crossing route. But again, Ryan is a little bit focused on the one guy. I don't put all that on Ryan. If that's AJ running that route over there, I don't think he gets overplayed like that. The respect that AJ gets, and I think we make that first down. But you got to put it on Ryan because the DB came over the top, tipped the ball up in the air, intercepted by a safety. Season's over. So I really thought a lot of the fumbles were his fault from hanging on in the pocket too long. Sometimes he would try to keep the ball on those read plays where he's reading the end and hand it to Derek or to one of the other running backs, and he liked to keep it himself. And he had a couple of fumbles on those type plays. I believe in Ryan Tannehill. I think he's tough as nails. I think he's a winner. I thought he made a lot of winning plays for this team last year. A lot of the plays he made, we overlooked. They wouldn't have gotten to the playoffs. They could have gotten, well, they would have gone, but they wouldn't have had a home field with the Texans. The play he made late in that ballgame when we're down, and he came out of a scramble and threw a 30-yard ball down the field for a first down, put us as the home team and having home field advantage throughout. Ryan made a lot of plays. The inconsistency of turnovers, though, George, you can't have 14 turnovers, 14 interceptions, and win a championship. It's not going to happen.
Okay, let's go to item number 3 on Watson's list, and that is the team has to help. Now, exactly what do you mean by that?
First and second down. The offense has to be good at what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to be a run offensive line. And Derrick Henry is supposed to run over about half of the team. And when he gets contacted 3, he gains 6. Understand the difference. 2nd and 7 and 2nd and 4 is a total different thought process. It's still in a run mode. So now Ryan can, on 2nd and 4, throw a pass right there when everybody's still thinking run. The offense has to stay within the chains and let Ryan do what he does best. And the coaches have got to be real careful when it's 3rd and long. And those are where I think Ryan's fundamentals aren't good. I think Ryan's fundamental. I think that the 4th one is his fundamental. So I'm getting ahead of myself here.
No, that's okay.
What I meant by the team has to help him is the defense has to hold them in place. We're not good at coming from behind when it's a 20-point comeback. We're good at coming back if it's a 6, 7, 8, 10-point comeback. We're pretty good at that, but not when it gets on up there. And I just think that 1st and 2nd down with Derek in that offensive line has got to be huge.
Okay, we get to the fundamentals. You've talked about those quite a bit. But, Watson, I want to go back to a thought or two that I had as I froze my fanny off sitting in my seats at Nissan Stadium for the playoff loss. I turned to some people up there during the game, and I said, here's a big problem. The 25-year-old Joe Burrow is more poised than the 33-year-old Ryan Tannehill. Watson, I thought the first, I think it was the first or second play from scrimmage when the Titans had the ball that resulted in the interception. I thought he stayed rattled for most of that contest. And at 33 years old, if one turnover rattles you, then you are not what I've thought you were.
I'll agree with that to a point. I also think poise comes from confidence. And I didn't think Ryan was confident in the drop back passing part of their offense. He looked totally different when he's throwing that ball to a play action pass and throwing to one guy. And so if you go back and think about that game, Derrick Henry was not Derrick Henry in that game.
Not even close.
We were in, not even close. And we were in a lot of long yardage situations.
Yep.
So I think, and it's such a big game, poise, George, comes from confidence. I don't think he's confident in a piece of his game. That's where, if I'm the quarterback coach, I say, we're going to fix this in off season, Brian. We're going to get better at this. And we're going to go into this together, and we're going to get better at this. And I hope they have, because I can't wait for Ryan to come back and prove a lot of folks, including me, because I've taken shots too. I've been in his corner more than most, but I still have taken shots. I just hope he comes back strong and has one heck of a year. Don't think he will, though, if we don't get back to Titan offense.
Okay, let me ask this, because you brought it up shortly after, the Monday after in my radio life. You were not shy about this.
No.
Blake Beddingfield sort of went down this road of, is the coaching staff offensively good enough? The playoff game opened up that question for a ton of second guessing. Are they good enough?
I think this is the year to prove it, because it was easy throughout the year. We were number one. We had the home field advantage. We were in an easy division. It was easy. And then all of a sudden, it hits us in the face. I can't yet say that's on coaches, even though there were plays in that game that I thought play calling hurt Ryan Tannehill. And I went through that with you when everybody was taking shots at Ryan. I said, this ain't all Ryan's fault, in my personal opinion. And I went through 2 or 3, I can't remember them all now, but 2 or 3 plays in the game where I thought the play call was much worse than the execution by Ryan. So I think this is the year, George. Let's see if this offense comes back now and it's what we want it to be. If it's not, and it's in the mode of what we finished last year, I think you'll have changes there. I don't think Mike is afraid to change. And the question marks right now are not on defense, they're on offense.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case going into last year. So let's see what they do with it.
Let me toss this out here. After the break, we're going to get into tonight's game. Let me make this clear, okay? these preseason games, for the most part, are a pile of manure. And when you get to the second half, it may be even worse than that. We're going to treat it like it's important. And tomorrow we'll come back with some of Watson's analysis. But the winning and losing part of it, the teams don't pay any attention to it. And that's one of the things I learned a few years ago in covering the team, is that in that locker room, they couldn't care less as to the winning and the losing. It's more about individual play. So with that in mind, we'll go to the break, and then we'll do our own little goofy breakdown of what's going on tonight in Baltimore. I hope you'll enjoy it. Either way, this is Main Street Media Television.
I highly recommend Sumner Funeral and Cremation because of their caring nature and attentiveness to detail.
Pre-planning your funeral now will bring you peace of mind and less stress to your loved ones. When the chaos of losing you happens, your family can honor and celebrate your life, knowing things are happening just as you wanted them to. Pre-planning determines the details of your funeral, cemetery services, and can be less expensive. We are honored to serve you and are always here for you in your time of need.
Sumner Funeral and Cremation. Traditional, affordable, dignified. SumnerFuneral.com.
Jody Jones Dentistry can handle all your dental needs, from the basics to cosmetic procedures. All of this in the nicest dental facility I have ever seen. Jody has done it right. They're located conveniently at 55 Music Square East, and for an appointment, it's simple. Dial 615-259-5100 and tell them Plaz sent you. When you're thinking about golf, consider Riverside Golf Links. Under new ownership, the course has improved dramatically. It's now 27 holes, complemented by a 9-hole executive course. Book a tee time now at 615-847-5074 and get ready to enjoy the beauty of golf in the Old Hickory area at Riverside Golf Links.
For Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly, they welcome every opportunity to serve and satisfy their clients. Whether you are looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and remodel is unique, luxurious, completed on time, and within budget. Contact them today to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects by logging on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
This is attorney Bart Durham, and this is me. I'm Aaliyah. Keeping in good physical condition is really important to me. But when I had a wreck with a tractor-trailer truck that hurt my legs so bad I couldn't work for almost a year, I knew I needed a lawyer that understood tractor-trailer cases. So I called Bart. Bart gets millions of dollars for his clients every year.
At Bart Durham Injury Law, we've handled hundreds of tractor-trailer cases.
My dad and I want to help. Give us a call at 615-242-9000.
Welcome to the Omni Nashville Hotel. Urban elegance with a vintage touch. Our 800-room hotel opened up in the fall of 2013 with 746 guest rooms and 54 suites.
Have you heard about the high levels of radon in Middle Tennessee? Radon gas is the second leading cause of lung cancer, second only to smoking, and has no color, no taste, and no smell. The only way to know if you have radon is to test for it. Duret Radon Mitigation offers testing for small and large-scale residential and commercial properties, plus mitigation services. Visit DuretRadonMitigation.com to request testing or get a free estimate for mitigation. That's DuretRadonMitigation.com.
Okay, so you wonder what are the most important things around tonight's preseason game? Well, first of all, who's kidding who? This is like saying, let's put lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig. Preseason football is what it is, and pathetically, the NFL continues to charge what is top dollar, regular season money for this pile of mush. That said, Watson, you ready for the most important stat?
Yeah.
The football stadium is right next to Camden Yards. I've been there.
Why is that an important stat?
Camden Yards is awesome.
I have not seen Camden.
Well, Camden Yards, which is now 30 plus years old, in incredible shape. The Orioles have done an amazing job. Anyway, that whole complex, it's within walking distance of each other, and it's really a nice area, nice site that they have for that. Now, we tried to come up with something halfway creative rather than trying to make you think this is really important stuff. This is putting lipstick on a pig. So let's roll this graphic, and Watson and I will talk about it. So on the Titans side, Watson, I do think Racey McMath seems to be one guy who has caught their attention in the preseason. But you know what? Show me what you're going to do in games. Practice is nice. Games are where it matters.
Yeah, he'd be the one that will play tonight, I would think. You're not going to see Hooper probably. You're not going to see Woods. I would put Burks up there too, because I think they'll throw him out there early just to see his nerves and all of those things. I think the one you put up there now would be Malik Willis.
Yeah,
that's a surprise to me. That tells me that this number 2 job is not over yet. There's been a lot of talk that, well, no, he's not ready to be there. I don't think so.
So
I
you do put
trying to prove he's not by letting him start the game.
Okay, so you do put some significance.
I very much so do. I very much so put significance in this.
For what it's worth, Corey Clement on the Ravens side was a Philadelphia Eagle and was part of their Super Bowl winning team. M&T Bank Stadium is the name of this place. Do I think you care? No. Intangibles. God, I tried to come up with something. What would be an intangible about tonight? And I came up with the real answer. None.
Well, you're dead on, George. All these games to the teams are individuals. That's it. What can this individual do for us? And should we keep him? And they look at him on special teams. These 3 games they're going to play is all about individual. The team stuff comes into play in those practices in midweek with the Bucks next week. That's when team aspects will start showing up. But these preseason games are nothing but individuals. That's why Malik Willis is starting the game, in my personal opinion.
Okay, go back on McMath for just a second, Watson. For a novice like me, what is it I should be looking for on that guy?
Burners. We hadn't had speed we hadn't had a guy that can just flat run by you in a long while. And they're saying, I'm catching it through the grapevine, this kid can. So let's see if he has that burner, that you'll see the burst. And I'm anxious to see if I see it tonight. I think they'll lay it up to him somewhere, maybe more than once in the first half.
Okay, go back to the graphic again. Let me just say this. If you're willing to bet on this, you deserve exactly what you get, good or bad. So
I agree with that.
Lord. You like that?
I can't wait for the bet of the day then.
Well, yeah, whatever. Normally in the preseason, the over-unders are about, I want to say, a good 8 to 10 points lower than they are in the regular season, basically for the words vanilla. The second half of most of these preseason games are totally vanilla, or as I like to call it, Gerber's baby food. You like that?
But George, you won a big bet by picking the first preseason game of the year now, bud.
Mm-hmm.
You did. So don't be sitting here talking about how bad it is, and that's one of your better bets. You had 2 wins in that game that night.
So what you're saying is don't look a gift horse in the mouth.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, Watson, look at this technological breakthrough. Let's go to the graphic again and see if we can pull this off. Let's see what happens here. Okay. Are you ready?
Yep.
For the last piece of this? Watch closely, Watson.
What?
What happened to the final score?
Oh, George, I forgot.
Oh, no.
I knew I was forgetting something today.
Oh, no.
Good gracious. Who'd you pick, George?
Well, first of all, hold on. All I'm going to say is this, Watson. A lot of these games, first of all, have you ever seen a preseason game go to overtime?
Yeah.
Really?
But it's been years.
So
coaches just don't do them anymore.
Oh no, and they will
That's
go
taboo.
They will go to the ends of the earth not to have overtime.
Absolutely right.
They'll go 2-point conversions. I'm waiting for one of these people to kneel down at the end of one of these. All I will say, Watson, is that I believe this game might come down to a 2-point conversion. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Holy cow.
How about that?
That's out of the ozone layer.
If we've got this kind of analysis for preseason, I cannot wait for the season.
Well, look,
he gets rolling, especially if he's doing good in underdog picks now.
He
is the top front runner of all time when he starts winning. If he hits 2 in a row, you don't want to be on that Thursday with him, Billy.
What about the other way?
Huh?
What about the other way?
If he loses,
it goes south.
Well, he kind of disappears then. Well, what he does is
hide under the table.
He hides under the table. He can't do that now that it's television, so it's going to be harder.
This puts a real crimp in the style.
Yeah, it's going to put crimp in the style. But usually, what he does when he loses, he calls the other team a fraud. They get blamed 100% when he loses. It's never Georgie's fault. It's never Georgie's fault. They're frauds.
I've used that a lot. I used it a lot a year ago.
Gosh,
it was a bitter season for me. Okay.
Yes, you've used it a lot.
Watson, that's all the analysis that we can muster.
That's enough.
Again, it's hard to put lipstick on a pig. Tomorrow, when we start the show, we'll have Watson's analysis at 4:20, good, bad, or indifferent. Then you will hear a little bit of Mike Vrabel's press conference when they get home later this evening, and then they'll have the press conference sometime during the middle of the day. For what it's worth, I'm headed up to Gallatin. Say a little prayer for me that the traffic is not as rough as normal. After the break, we'll talk with the legendary, and I mean legendary, when you look at some of what he accomplished, Calvin Short did incredible things as Gallatin's football coach over about a 20-year span. I am speaking to their quarterback club in about an hour. Then we'll have Plaster's Bet of the Day. And trust me when I tell you, it better work. You got that, Billy?
I got it, George. I can't wait.
Yeah, I can tell. This is Main Street Media Television.
It's your last chance to get a spring tune-up for summer. Complete Service Heat and Air can clean your coils, check out your motor, and make sure you have cold air on that first hot day of summer. Complete Service Heat and Air is located in White Bluff, Tennessee. We do service and repair on heating and air the right way. 24/7 service. Call us at 615-797-3997. That's 615-797-3997. Serving Cheatham, Davidson, Dixon, Hickman, Humphreys, Montgomery, and Williamson counties.
When you're thinking about golf, consider Riverside Golf Links. Under new ownership, the course has improved dramatically. It's now 27 holes, complemented by a 9-hole executive course. Book a tee time now at 615-847-5074 and get ready to enjoy the beauty of golf in the Old Hickory area at Riverside Golf Links.
For Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly, they welcome every opportunity to serve and satisfy their clients. Whether you are looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and remodel is unique, luxurious, completed on time, and within budget. Contact them today to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects by logging on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Hey everyone, I'm John English. This is Keith Wallace, and we would like to welcome you to John English Antique Sports and Cards in Shelbyville, Tennessee.
We specialize in graded and ungraded sports and non-sports cards, vintage wax boxes, and unopened cases. We have a large selection of PSA graded cards. We also specialize in old sports collectibles, baseball, football, basketball, golf, and tennis. You can find it all at John English Antique Sports and Cards.
We are happy to be associated with Nashville's greatest sports antique, George Plaster.
Tell us about One Stop Realty.
So, as I've said before, George, One Stop Realty is the hometown brokerage for all your real estate needs. We've been around since 1974. I took ownership of the company in 2019. We've added agents. We have expanded into building up our property management. The growth with our agents is fantastic. We added 3 new agents in the past couple months. Angela Hyatt, Nathan Skelly, and Crystal Locke have all joined us, and they're going to be fantastic agents. They're ready to help you in all your residential, your commercial, property management, and auction needs. We are a family business, and we want to help your family find your next property in Middle Tennessee. Okay. Office number is 615-822-0750. My cell phone, 615-440-7011, or the website, OneStopRealtyTN.com. And you can also find us on Facebook. I encourage everybody to go out and like and follow our page, just as the same we did with George Plaster.
Welcome all of you back in. As we promised earlier, we are joined by the legendary retired Gallatin head football coach. They're absolutely incredible. First of all, a career record of 205 wins and 30 losses. His Gallatin teams won 3 state championships, 1978, 1989, 1992. He was the runner-up on 3 other occasions. So, to say the least, he is football royalty in this area. Coach, it is good to have you with us. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Glad to be with you, George.
So tell me a little bit about how you were able to build Gallatin into the powerhouse it turned into.
Well, really, I did not. It was already here when I came, and I just more or less took over a good program, and we just tried to continue to let it go.
Well, I think you're being a little bit modest. I remember from my days in high school at BGA that Gallatin was always a name that you kind of feared. Talk to me a little bit about some of the philosophies that you brought into this and what you tried to accomplish.
Well, really, I don't know that I brought anything into it. I was just fortunate enough to get here with George, you're good as a coach as a kid you're coaching. And we had a great group of kids, and they were just outstanding. And we had a lot of kids that were playing. We had usually every year we had 25, 30 seniors on the football team, and nothing succeeds like success. And we won a few ball games, and then it just started going, and just kept going, and it just more or less, I don't know, I guess just grew from itself.
So your last state title was right at 30 years ago, 1992, as I mentioned earlier. Give me a few memories of that state title team and what stood out for you.
Well, matter of fact, I was just looking at, excuse me, I was just looking at that film over there a few minutes ago. So, Randy Moore, who Randy Moonpie Moore, he's the one that sent it to me on my iPod, and I was sitting over there watching that game a little while ago till it left me. But in 91, we played in the state championship, and Oak Ridge beat the devil out of us. And then that whole team just about came back in 92, and they were really a close-knit team, and kids that had their eyes set on the state championship. And, buddy, that's what they worked for, and they worked very hard. And we had good leadership and had good athletes.
Here's the other thing I remember. You had great support. Boy, when you came to Gallatin, it wasn't some small crowd. It was big by high school standards. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, that was whether we was at home or on the road. It didn't matter. The same people followed us when we were on the road. But we had, I guess, I tell you, it's as good as following, and people followed the team. As I said, when we left town, you could rob it because there'd be nobody here. Everybody'd be, they'd even follow the buses. They'd fall in the buses when we go to away games, and the people would fall in the cars behind the buses. If we stopped somewhere to eat a bite or go to the restroom or something like that, they pulled in right there with us. It was just something else. And some of those same people are still following. Of course, we've lost a lot of those people, but some of them are still following to this day.
Coach, that's one of the cool things to me as I've dealt with people who really know high school football is some of the great followings that you see where, as you said it, the town closes down. Give me 2 or 3 other places that really had kind of the Gallatin type fan base.
I would say Lincoln County had a good fan base. Oak Ridge was pretty fair. They had a pretty good fan base. Some people, they would have it sometimes, but not at other times. We had it the whole time. The 18 years as I was head coach here, it was just, the following was unbelievable. I mean, all of our season tickets sold out every year. It was just unbelievable. And we had individuals, retired individuals, that came and worked with the team all the time. I mean, they would come up and whatever we needed, if it's something needed to be fixed, if there's something torn up, if there was something they could do, run an errand or whatever. We had individuals that they wanted to be around the team. And Mr. Claude Murphy and Mr. Hollins and Mr. Doug Sutter, that's 3 of those people that they were around all the time. In fact, they'd come in on Sunday. Some of them wouldn't watch film with us a little bit. They won't know who was playing the next week. So it was really interesting. We just had a very dedicated group.
Coach, I want to ask you, one of the things that I think has changed, but I want to get your perspective on it. is all these 7-on-7 passing things where now you've got some kids on the high school level that can really spin it. When did that start to happen?
I don't know. It was after I quit, after I retired. We didn't have 7-on-7s and everything when I was coaching. And, George, all that stuff that they do now, I'm not sure these kids don't need a break sometime. Get away from football and relax a little bit and have some fun, doing other things. This year-round football, I'm not in favor of that.
Well, I'm right there with you because I think one of the things that's sad is when kids are not allowed to participate in a bunch of different sports. And I guess that's sort of what you're saying.
Exactly. I think a kid ought to play every sport they can. And now just about every head coach in their sport wants the kids to play only their sport. And back in our heyday and when we were having really good football teams, we had some kids that played 4 sports. And I mean, would do well like in track or baseball or that type of thing or basketball. But they played 4 sports here, 4 sports. And I think that's what you're only young once. And if you don't get to enjoy those things when you're young, if you're locked into one thing all the time, I think coaches are selfish.
You'll probably hate me for this question. Who's the most talented kid you ever coached?
I can't answer that. My son's holding his hand up over here. We had so many.
Nothing for him. I love it.
We had so many and talented kids. It was just unbelievable. I mean, we had some like Thomas D. Woods and P-Head McCullough. They played 4 sports. Now, that's a great athlete. Of course, Thomas D. Woods went on to University of Tennessee, but he ran track. The track coach and the baseball coach worked together. Whichever one had a meet that day or a game, he went with them. And McCullough was the same way, and McCullough won the state in the high jump. We had so many good athletes. It's just unbelievable. And we encouraged them to do that.
That's why I asked it, because you had a ton of them. Some of them went to Tennessee. A couple of them that went to Vandy were friends of mine. You had them a little bit of everywhere, didn't you?
Well, we had several, that went on to college, and some of them to smaller colleges. But we had a few to go to the big time, the big SEC and so forth.
So I got to ask this before we leave tonight. As you know, I'm speaking to the Touchdown Club in about an hour. Give me some advice. What am I walking into?
This is at Gallatin?
Yes.
You're a very knowledgeable group of people about football. I can tell you that right now. These people, I used to, I used to tell the kids that, how they go out, George, and do this to get the crowd going and all that type of thing. I used to tell the kids, you don't have to do that. If you're playing well, they're going to let you know. And by golly, that's the way the Gallatin people are. They're very, very smart about football, and they know when to pick the team up and when to cheer for them and get them going.
Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This has been a real pleasure. The accomplishments you had, I may have gotten to 2 or 3 of them, but what you did for high school football in this state is incredible. Thank you so much for the visit.
Well, I appreciate it, and thank you for thinking about me.
Absolutely. That's retired, legendary Gallatin football coach Calvin Short. We'll take a break and have more.
I'm Bart Durham.
I was sworn in as a lawyer in 1963, and I've been working as a lawyer since then.
We're a firm that does exclusively personal injury, a lot of tractor-trailer crashes. Insurance companies will open up their checkbooks when you force them to.
We have systems that work.
We get the most money for our clients in the shortest amount of time.
I'm Blair Durham. My dad and I want to help. Give us a call at 615-242-9000.
Jody Jones Dentistry can handle all your dental needs, from the basics to cosmetic procedures. All of this in the nicest dental facility I have ever seen. Jody has done it right. They're located conveniently at 55 Music Square East, and for an appointment, it's simple. Dial 615-259-5100 and tell them Plaz sent you.
I think journalism is like politics. It's all local, and I think Main Street media has really hit on something that I've been preaching for 50 years. And keep the news local, right? Local stories for local readers, and that's what I like about Main Street media. I finally found somebody who agrees with me philosophically about concentrate on local subjects, local topics, and you'll bring your readers in.
Since 1865, the First Baptist Church of Gallatin on Winchester Street has served its community by catering to the least, the last, and the lost, providing a church of welcome used by God to save the lost, transform the saved, and impact its community. As a proud multi-ethnic congregation, Pastor Derek Jackson personally welcomes you to join them in fellowship Sunday mornings at 8 in person or at 1045 in person or online at firstbaptistgallatin.org. First Baptist Gallatin on Winchester Street, serving with open arms as a true church of welcome.
At Sumner Funeral and Cremation, our mission is to serve families as our own, celebrate the life of their loved one, and help begin the healing process.
My whole family, including my wife and my mom and siblings, were very happy with the treatment that we received. I would highly recommend Sumner Funeral and Cremation.
We offer funeral, burial, cremations, and pre-planning services.
Sumner Funeral and Cremation. Traditional, affordable, dignified. SumnerFuneral.com.
At WellSkin Dermatology and Aesthetics, we pride ourselves in providing access, innovation, and a patient experience second to none. Access to care and treatment when you need it. Innovation with medical-led cosmetics and various on-site technologies for full-service treatments with a customer experience that is calming, casual, and effective. Independently owned, providing medical, surgical, pediatric, and cosmetic dermatology and more. Visit wellskinmd.com to schedule your appointment today. WellSkin Dermatology and Aesthetics. Access to healthier skin.
Final segment of the show, and who's kidding who? It's an important segment. It's time for Plaster Bet of the Day. But first, Billy has important news you can use.
George, it is time for Plaster's Bet of the Day, sponsored by Bart Durham Injury Law. They have aggressively protected the rights of a broad range of victims of car accidents and personal injury in both Tennessee and Kentucky. If you, too, have seen your life interrupted by an injury on a highway, in a hospital, or at a workplace, you should let their attorneys do the work fighting for the full financial compensation that you need. Learn more about Bart Durham Injury Law by logging on to bartdurham.com. And, George, before we get to the Bet of the Day, you have gotten back to 500.
Oh, yeah.
The Atlanta Braves pulled through last night in Boston, courtesy of a pretty crazy moment for the young rookie there.
Mr. Grissom.
Mr. Grissom. That was.
He went yard. He went, 2 for 4 in the game?
I think you're right. But
what a heck of a debut. He already had his family up there. That was great to see.
Yeah, that was crazy. So, George, you're at 11-11. And can you get above 500? You have not been above 500 yet. I don't think.
But I have.
Was that early?
2-1.
2-1? Okay. So now
how pathetic.
It's been since week 1. So George is trying to get back above 500. And can he win 3 in a row? It'll start tonight. M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, the Tennessee Titans.
Yep. Here's why I'm going with this. Okay. First of all, one of the things I learned years ago when I was doing color on the Titans television games was how little the coaches really care about winning or losing in these kind of games. They are way more focused on individual performances, situational kind of stuff. The winning and losing does not mean a thing in preseason. It would not shock me if this game goes down to a 2-point conversion late. If you remember earlier in today's broadcast, I put a score out there that sounds like Baltimore went for 2 and failed. Now, who knows whether that's how it turns out, but that's exactly what I am going with. And I'm taking the Titans plus the points.
Plus the points. There it is. How are you confident? Are you confident, George? What's your confidence level, 1 through 10?
I wouldn't go that far.
You wouldn't say you're confident? I mean, it's preseason.
It's preseason. Who knows what you're getting? Anyway, I know this wraps up today's show, but before we go, I want to let you all know tomorrow we have got a rip-roaring show. Watson Brown's Titans analysis at 4:20. And let me tell you, there is nobody better than breaking down the good and the bad than Watson Brown. Mike Vrabel will have a press conference tomorrow after, hopefully, the victory in Baltimore. We'll let you hear a little bit of that. And then my buddy Danny Evans, who knows more on the Major League Baseball front than any human being, will join us. As a lot of you know, Danny is responsible for tonight's Hall of Fame, not Hall of Fame. Let me try it a different
Field
way.
of Dreams.
Field of Dreams. Well, you know what? It might as well be the Hall of Fame. He did an unbelievable job with it a year ago. Round 2 is tonight between the Cubs and the Cincinnati Reds, and Danny will join us tomorrow during the 5 o'clock hour. So for Watson Brown and for Billy Derrick, I'm George Plaster. Thanks for being with us. This is Main Street Media Television.